Hello, everyone, and welcome to Next Generation Saints. I'm your host, Nick Coons. Before we get started today, I want to go to remind everyone to like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you may be listening to podcasts. It helps get the algorithm so more people get to hear the Word of God. So, this episode is actually not going to be divinely inspired by the Word of God, by the Bible, but more just world events taking place here. In case you haven't heard of it, maybe you have, but if you haven't heard of it, we are headed right now for a major catastrophe in our economic system. At least potentially going to be catastrophic. The East Coast dock workers are about to go on strike, and these are the workers who do the docks. So basically, whenever America gets supplies in, imports or exports, it goes mostly through the shipping yards. So they go into these big old cargo containers. The cargo containers then go into ships, and the ships go off to their ports wherever they may be going. And also other countries do likewise the same thing. There is a threat of a strike due to the unions, the major unions that support all those dock workers. I think it's about 42,000 workers, a lot of workers. And they say that they're not getting the pay that they need, and that their jobs are being threatened by automation. I personally interpret that meaning that AI automation is going to be taking over, and so they're threatening to strike. Now, I have been keeping a close eye on this for a few days. I should say for like over a week. And usually when it comes down to strikes, what you have is like Boeing right now is the Boeing company is on strike right now because due to safety issues. EPA violations, workers are having a hard time. They're saying their safety isn't being taken care of, a bunch of stuff, bunch of negativity. Usually with the union, for example, like Disney cast members once were going to go into a strike. SEIU was actually their union. That was my former union as I worked at Disney. And their contract was coming up, and there was the company and the union were not agreeing with the contract. And so the union threatened to do a strike. Now, this could have gigantic implications for cast members, or employees, I should say, and everyone else. So what a company usually does with a union, in order to make sure that this company does not go on strike, lose revenue, and get their reputation badly damaged, is what they'll do is they'll come up with a thing called a tentative agreement. A tentative agreement just means like, hey, it's something there, we can work with it, but this is good enough right now for us to keep working and not go on strike. That's what a tentative agreement is. With the dock workers right now, no tentative agreement has been made. And I've been keeping an eye on this thing for over a week, wondering, are they going to do it? I first heard about it on Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire, and I usually listen to him at work for podcasts. It's also why I like listening to my own podcast to see how you guys would like it, what else I can do to tune on this podcast to make it better. But anyways, this is why when Ben Shapiro was talking about there's a fundamental problem. We're in election season, whether you like it or not. We are in an electric election season. In which case, Joe Biden could step in as president of the United States and force a 80-day cool down of this strike, which means it would force all the workers to go back to work. They still hate what's being offered. They still don't like anything that's going on, but the president could force them to go to work. The problem is this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are Democrats. At least in title and only. I believe they're Marxists, but that's a different story to take. The problem is that Democrats have always been known pretty much as the people who are supportive of unions and have stood up for union rights. But the problem is this. If the Democrats like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden force the unions to go back to work and not do a strike, even though they don't have a deal hammered out, this could make them lose the election. And after all, these situations, though I absolutely hate this is true, it is all about the politics. It is nothing about doing the right thing. As Christians, we're meant to do the right thing even when no one's looking. Do the right thing even though it may not be the best, easiest solution, most comfortable, and we were meant to do the right thing. This is politics. So their whole idea is that they want to look like they side with the union, but we're on a major economic collapse. The only time the president's supposed to interfere is if this is a national security risk. Well, it may just sound like, okay, so we don't have enough bolts and screws and some food coming in. That's not a big ordeal. Here's why it becomes a national security issue. Once those ports shut down and strike, our imports and exports of crude oil cease. Now, the majority of America receives its own oil from imports. We usually don't use our own oil all that much, even though we do frack it and whatnot. If it shuts down, prices for gasoline, diesel, and other fossil fuels will skyrocket because of the thing called supply and demand. This will be a very bad thing. This is why I'm warning you right now. The best thing that you could probably do for yourselves, and I can't tell you what to do because I don't live in your household. I honestly don't know what you guys need. All I can say is, please go out. Don't panic. Don't freak out. Don't do 2020 and run and grab all the toilet paper, for crying out loud. That was stupid. But just the things that you're used to, the things you use the most, I would say buy a couple extra of them, and hold on to them, because we don't know how long the strike will be. When I looked into like how long would these people strike, because when you have the unions, they have a contract, and in the contract they'll say we're going to go, because they have to make it a legal strike, otherwise it is illegal. They could say, if we're going to go on strike, it's going to be for 5 days. We're going to strike for 5 days and come back to work, and then see if the company will do something about it. This will be an indefinite strike. There is no time limit. They go on strike just like Boeing, and they stay on strike until they fix things up. So unless they're able to come to the table and talk, this is going to be a bad situation, plain and simple. So I encourage everyone here, don't go freak out. Don't think the world's coming to an end. We're not at the apocalypse right now. At least second coming of Christ. I can't guarantee when it's coming, but I'm pretty sure that he's not showing up right now. I would encourage everyone to please go and get what you need to keep your family safe and provided for. And again, I will let you guys know on updates on this. But the strike begins Tuesday morning at midnight. So when you hear this message coming out, probably you're going to be hearing this on Monday, even though I'm recording it Sunday. I was waiting till later, till there was no other choice to let you guys know, because I was hoping that there would be some kind of tentative agreement, that they would stop the strike, that there wouldn't be any strike, or that Joe Biden would do something, even though he's senile. We all know it. Or Kamala Harris, even though she is pretty much useless when it comes down to figuring how to solve problems. That I digress here. I was hoping something would come from the President of the United States, from the Oval Office, like a sit down, or Pete Buttigieg, because it is about the transportation area. What if Pete Buttigieg could do something? But he is MIA, as always, when it comes down to problems like East Palestine, Ohio. Anything that's really big, LA workers' strike that took place, he was MIA. All these people are MIA. The people that are in office are MIA when it comes down to real issues that need to be solved. But I was hoping that they would show up and be able to say, hey, let's get the union workers, union bosses in. Let's get the big bosses in from the big companies. And we're going to sit down here. We're going to cook up a hot batch of coffee. And we're not leaving this room until we hammer out a tentative deal that y'all can shake hands on and open up the docks. And we can avoid the strike, and therefore avoid, avoid catastrophe on our economy, not to mention our militarily, because again, people are like, well, it's just oil. It's like, yeah, well, where do you think we get jet fuel for the F-16s or any of those other planes? It comes from crude oil. So, yeah. Anyways, I digress. So, go ahead and get what you need. And prepare yourselves just in case this goes really south. I'll let you guys know more information as I find out. So, until next time, we meet again. May God richly bless y'all, my dearly beloved.